7:34, good morning. This is Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Joining us to go through some of the day's headlines, journalist and author Ella Whelan and writer and commentator Candice Holdsworth. Thank you so much for coming in again.
Good morning.
Right, now, Candice, there's a Netflix documentary, is it, about the Beckhams?
Yes. So this story in The Sun, it's Victoria Beckham being interviewed about that very difficult time that she went through with David. This is featured in their Netflix documentary.
Which difficult time is this?
Well, it's after the 1998 World Cup, when David Beckham was red-carded, sent off, there was a 10-man team left, and they lost. And apparently he received so much anger, so much public anger, to the point where he became clinically depressed, she claims. She was pregnant as well at the time, so you can imagine she was pretty anxious too. And she says she still can't forgive the people who bullied him, as she put it. But look, I can imagine it was very difficult. It's very hard to imagine if you haven't been in that position. I mean, at the level that he plays football, and people put everything into these teams and their victory, and if you're seen as the person to blame, people will just go after you. And you know, Gareth Southgate has spoken about that, the former England coach. He said as well he went through that when he missed a penalty shootout.
Yeah, Marcus Rashford, do you remember all of those?
Yes.
They suffered terrible bullying and horrible abuse just for missing a penalty.
But she wants to kill people.
Which is
A little bit over the top.
Well, a part of the Beckhams' appeal always has been that they are kind of extremely close. The family sells themselves well. Yeah, when I did see the headline about the difficult time with David, I didn't necessarily think it was going to be related to this. I thought it was going to be some of the other stuff surrounding that man's lifestyle. But the interesting thing about the whole sort of approach for football fans and footballers and things like that is that I think a lot of people, I'm not the biggest football fan, but I think a lot of people react badly to the kind of idea that football should become this very nicey nice, you know, the Gareth Southgate style of things, which is that everybody loves each other and we're all such good friends, and it's really just the taking part that's the point of it.
Oh, I don't think Gareth Southgate would say that. Come on.
I think that's how his style has been interpreted. Let's all shake hands and be nice. No one's saying that sportsmanship isn't important, but I think part of the passion and fun of football is that you want to be you want the bad boys. Well, you have a go when someone misses a penalty, surely, or someone goes wrong. You know, that's sport, isn't it?
Yeah, but I suppose it was always like that, except now it turns into people can keep having a go because of social
media.
Well, I don't know if social media was around in 1998.
Well, it wouldn't have been. No, I don't think it would have been then.
No. But it's the stress and the anxiety, and I think that's something that we can't understand unless we've been there in that position and kicked that ball or missed that penalty. And you often see when they miss it, they immediately go like this, and they're crying. I mean, they put so much into this, and they do it at such a high level.
That's why I think penalties are absolutely cruel. Anyway.
They are cruel.
Poor old David Beckham.
Let's have a look at private schools, Ella. The Telegraph's saying that under the Labour plans to charge VAT on private schools, claiming they're not charities, that it will mean an influx of foreign students.
Well, so this is the argument from the private schools, who are saying that if you know, this perennial debate about, you know, what's an aspirational parent? What does it mean for families if there's this tax on or raising VAT on private schools? And the schools themselves have come out and said, well, if you do this to us, we're going to have to find the extra cash somewhere, and so a bit like universities. And so we're going to have to get lots of foreign students in and do things that way. So there's a bit of muscling in the debate from private schools. But obviously there's, you know, I think for a lot of people, there is a certain section of society for whom this will be very important and mean a lot. There's, you know, there are lots of aspirational parents who don't aspire to sending their kids to private school, but aspire for their kids to do very well, thank you very much, in state schools. I think the irritating thing about this for most people whom private school isn't a consideration is that we want to be having discussions about, you know, concrete schools breaking down, the state of state schools, the state of education in state schools. And you almost kind of like let them get on with whatever they want over there with the private schools. I've got no problem with someone wanting to pay thousands of pounds for their kids' education. More power to your elbow. Can we talk about the curriculum and
but VAT would raise some money, wouldn't it?
Well, yes, but again, it's this
to fix the concrete.
Some, I think, is the important point. Some. It's not the kind of... This isn't the solution to...
I just don't understand how there's a like sort of pseudo-charitable status around private schools. They're businesses.
Yeah, you can make that argument, yeah. And I think, you know, that I think probably there is arguments for the reasons why they have this sort of charitable status, but I'm also making that. I'm almost making the irritating point of saying most of us don't really care.
And what's interesting is
we want to talk about state schools.
It is pretty much unaffordable now for most middle-class people. I mean, private school fees are huge. Most people I know, and they've got middle-class professions. Maybe in the past they would have sent their children to private school. They cannot afford it now. These are doctors, lawyers, accountants. They all send their kids to the state school system.
Well, what's wrong with that? Isn't that a good thing?
See, for me personally, I like parents to have choice. They should be able to do what they genuinely think is best for their children. But I do think now most of them don't have a choice. I don't know anyone who was considering, well, maybe I will send my kid to the £35,000 a year private school. That's not a consideration for people anymore. The consideration is, where do I buy a house so I can get my kid into which good state school? And that's the reality now. I mean, it is becoming ever more unaffordable. It's not a middle-class thing anymore, sending your kid to private school.
It's horrendous. Can we take a look at Donald Trump? Because he's been doing, Candice, he's been doing his best imitation of Joe Biden. I think we can see it, can we? Let's have a look.
Interesting, but let's see. Look, some people say Biden's going to make it. Does anybody think he's going to make it to the starting gate? I mean, the guy can't find his way off of a stage. Look, here's a stage. Here's a stage. I've never seen this stupid stage before, right? I've never seen it. But if I walk left, there's a stair. And if I walk right, there's a stair. And this guy gets up. Where am I?
Well,
what do you reckon, Candice?
Well, this is his shtick. I mean, he's going to go for the ad hominem. I mean, Trump cannot resist that. And we all know, we've seen Biden on stage. He does have a tendency to ramble. He does get a bit confused. And Trump is not going to shy away from that.
No.
Just makes me wonder, though, is it going to work for him? Is it going to work for him? You know, in the 2016 election, that sort of behaviour was quite novel and people were kind of shocked by it and they would laugh when he would say...
Yeah, but listen to the crowd. They love him. He knows how to absolutely whip up frenzy.
That's his base, though, isn't it?
Well, yes, but it's his base who'll vote for him, and at the moment it looks as though it could do it.
The awkward fact is that a large part of America is laughing at Joe Biden at the moment, and that's not to say that it's not unkind to do. Who wants to laugh at an old guy getting confused? In the abstract, it's not very nice. But you know, I think you wish that Trump or someone else some opposition would come up and say that the point isn't that he can't find his way off a stage or that he's sort of getting too old or something, because who says what's too old for office? But the fact is he's tired in his politics. The Democrats are tired in their approach. But this is like Groundhog Day, isn't it? This is like a rerun again of the same election that we've had again and again in America, and it'll do no one any favours.
No, well, let's look at something which really matters then, should we? Which is pineapple on pizzas. Get your views coming in, gbviews@gbnews.com. Should there be pineapple on pizzas? I'm a yes man on this
I'm a yes.
No, I think that's
I used to be
revolting.
Yes, and then in my pregnancy I could not stand them, and since then I haven't touched them.
No.
I'm very against fruit and savoury. I don't even like pork and apple. I just think, no, keep it separate.
Yes, well, you're in the minority, because according to the Star, more of us like pineapple on our pizzas than not.
Well, this is, so poll done by Pizza Express, who 37% of us won't touch it, but over half of us, 43%, say that we're into it. And the claim here in the Star is that this is like the new Marmite. And actually, the most interesting thing is that apparently 1 in 8 would never date someone who ate pineapple on their pizza.
Ridiculous.
So this is, I don't know whether that's a breath thing or whether it's a
No,
kind
I
of
think if you
a
don't
moral
like...
thing,
I think you can find it really off-putting looking at pineapple on pizza. I can
Really?
understand.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. There's something visceral about almost makes you feel sick if you don't like pineapple.
I love it. I've never had it with pineapple. I was once on a date many, many years ago with someone who had an egg in their burger, and he bit into the burger and the egg fell out onto the plate, and I had a headache and went home early.
Really?
That way. Yeah. There was something about it that I think there is something about eating it's very intimate. You know, you can really
People
get
can
put
have
off by
strong
someone.
opinions. Like, people have very strong opinions these days on sourdough, whether it's nice bread or horrible bread. Oh, yes. The Spectator ran a piece on sourdough, and it did so well.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Ella, Candice, thanks very much indeed. Let's go check on the weather.